Hello friends, Tanya here, and I have the 10 cards 1 kit video for Spellbinders July 2022 Under the Sea Magic Card of the Month kit, or card kit of the month. We're going to jump right in to a card here with the unicorn pattern paper. This piece of pattern paper actually has a fairy on the other corner, and I cut it diagonally to create, because I wanted to use it on 2 different cards. I took some stamps from the coordinating stamp set, or the stamp set that's included in the kit, and I took the different star clusters and stamped them all over a piece of white cardstock. I'm taking one of the precision layering A2 sets and die cutting that down to fit on an A2 card, and I'm taking the color block Cloudscape and I die cut a long strip of clouds from that. There's one that will cut an 8.5 inch long section. I'm taking this diagonally cut piece of pattern paper, gluing that to the cardstock, and a very thin strip of the gold mirror cardstock from the is in the kit also, and I want to layer that right over the top of that edge of the pattern paper to create a transition there. I did take some of that extra shimmery white cardstock and stick it behind that corner of the pattern paper to make that all even. Glued it to my panel that I had heat embossed with gold stars and trimmed off the extra. We'll adhere that to our card, and then we're going to work on the sentiment. I took one of these sentiments from the stamp set and stamped it on some of the light purple cardstock included in the kit, and I'm heat embossing that with some brass embossing powder. And then I took another one of the precision layering dies, and I am using that to die cut our sentiment. It fits in one of those perfectly. I don't even have to do any partial die cutting. Then I took one of the slightly smaller dies, or excuse me, larger dies to mat my sentiment, popping that up on a little bit of coaster blank for some dimension and centering that nicely on my card. And then I'm pulling out these gorgeous gems. They're all self-adhesive, and I'm using some of the gold ones to add a little extra something to our card. And I do use these, I think, on almost every single card, if not every single card. And I still have some left. There's a lot of gems in there. So I've got all of those on there. Now we're going to do the inside of the card. I took out my, is this the copper or the gold? I think this is the copper one. And that's my Delicata ink. I love that for gold detail stamping. It is gorgeous. It does take a little time to dry though. I think it's Celestial Copper is what this one's called. And we're going to stamp some of the stars in here too. I stamped Magic in that Celestial Copper, and I stamped the I Hope Today is Filled With in VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. Next, for the second card, we're going to pull out one of the Glimmer of the Month kits from the last year in April, and I'm going to foil this curvy border of flowers in gold foil. I'm using the coordinating die to die cut that edge, and we'll trim off above and below that with our scissor because this is a little longer than the foil and die. Going to add a little bit of glue on the back of that, and we'll add it to one of the pattern paper pieces that I cut to 3 inch by 6 inches. We'll use the precision layering dies to die cut our piece to fit on an A2 card, and we'll adhere that directly to the card base. I did die cut this small enough to have a small white border all the way around my card. I really like that. Then I'm pulling out some of this shimmer spray. This is called Calypso Teal, and this is the teal cardstock from the kit. Spritzed that, and we took some Hocus Pocus colored Distress Mica Stain, and I'm spritzing that on our darker purple cardstock because I want this to be shimmery. I took the dies from the kit and I die cut all of the pieces, and you can see the seashell and some bubbles here right now. I'm going to use more than that, and I'm assembling the seashell here, or the oyster shell. I think that's what it is, clam shell. And you can see that I decided to do it in purple instead of teal. We have some teal starfish and one little tiny purple fish and one of the seahorses in teal, and I kept the purple bubbles, and I'm adding those to the left side of the card to create some fun embellishments or additions to the design. I'm just going to use my Barely Art precision glue to tack these bubbles down quickly. I'm not being too terribly picky about their placement. And then inside, we're going to use another one of those sentiments that I stamped out earlier, and we'll adhere that right inside the card. And I'm going to take some more of those little die cuts that I created earlier. We've got a seahorse, and I think I used 3 starfish on the inside. The main sentiment on the front of the card was a sentiment from the ephemera pack, and I believe it says you are unique or something. It's a very sweet, unique you sentiment. There is the inside of card number 2. Card number 3, I took out a few things. That was one of the the 3D embossing folders that I had spritzed with some shimmer spray and embossed with is that the tile mosaic? I don't remember, but it will be linked in the description box below. I also have the Essentials Circles dies here, which also happen to have some dots die cut around that circle. This creates a nice matte area or a focal area for these ephemera pieces. We've got all kinds of things. We've got tags and sentiments and tickets, and we've got a fairy and a big beautiful rose. We've got some stars. All of this coordinates fantastically, and I did add, of course, a little bit of extra layers behind these elements to make the ephemera that much more special. I like it when they stand up off the card a little bit, creates some dimension and adds some depth and richness to the card. Here we come again with our beautiful speckled gold rhinestones or faceted gems. I think they're called faceted gems. And I think I stick with just the gold on this one. Inside, I'm going to stamp one of these sentiments. I don't remember exactly what it says, but it has to do with stardust and magical things. There's some really great sentiments in this set. I hope you get a chance to use them. Next, I'm using my Golden Glitz Delicata ink to stamp this pixie. I did have to stamp it a few times because I needed to re-ink my pad, which I did do later. And I had die cut our sentiment and glued that to the inside of the card. I find that I get a crisper stamping of these sentiments if I use some smooth cardstock. I've die cut this next. For this next card, I've die cut the pattern paper that has pixies and this lovely ink ombre effect and some tiny dots all over it that are foiled. And I have this grouping. As usual, I'm grouping them together with a piece of press and seal. I have taken a circle die. I think that's one of the old, like the originals, Nestabilities circles die set. If you still have those in your stash, hey, they still work. Any of the nesting circle dies will work. We've got this beautiful fairy and a grouping of flowers, and we're going to add that to the front of the card. I have another sentiment that did I put a stamped one on there? Oh, I sure did. Yep, I'm going to stamp this with Golden Glitz on some white cardstock, and that is to the birthday princess, I think it says. We're also going to use one of the precision layering dies to cut out this sentiment. I love that they fit in those. I'm sorry, I just really love a die. Then I took a bunch of the fairies and unicorns and stamped them in the Golden Glitz, and I pulled out my brother's Scan and Cut and cut those out. I got the Scan and Cut a few months ago, and I haven't really been using it much until this past week. It just really finally clicked, and it's been working fantastic, and I love it. If you've got one, oh my gosh, it really can save you some time. So I actually have a whole bunch of little unicorns and fairies die cut, so I can use them however I want. And it did make things a lot easier. If you like to fussy cut, go ahead and stamp a bunch and fussy cut them. You will find that you will create a whole lot more things when you have some just ready to go. Here is card number 5. This one's kind of got an aqua teal theme going here, and I have two, those aren't fairies, those are mermaids. I've got 2 mermaids here. No, I've got 1 mermaid here. I die cut one with plain white and then one out of a coordinating pattern paper for the sentiment we're going to use. And here is that die again. It's called Origami Folds. That's what it's called. And this is a pattern or piece of paper that I had spritzed again with some different shimmer sprays before I ran it through the embossing folder. I did die cut that with a precision layering die and then ran it through the embossing folder again to make sure that the 3D embossing was as crisp and dimensional as it could be. Here we have one of my stamped and cut out pixies, fairies, and then we're going to adhere our little mermaid and our unicorn and all of the things on the front. There's a great sentiment on that, like almost a banner on the front. I love that saying. It's really cool. I just don't remember exactly what it says. Just going to adjust that so the unicorn's tail doesn't cover up any of the sentiment. I do add, of course, some coaster blank behind this because it is going to need to be above all of the different pieces. This time, are we still using the gold? Yep. Okay. For this particular gem, I peeled the gem off of its self-adhesive sticker. So I had to use a little glue to adhere that. I have not been using additional glue behind these gems to get them to adhere to the card bases. They've been sticking well, and we're going to use that. Don't let any, it's another of these sparkle sentiments. We'll use that on the inside, and we have our stamped and cut fairy and unicorn to stick on the inside. See, those came in super handy. I think I did 10 of each of them, and I still have a few left. But since they were all stamped and cut out, it was so easy to add them in various places throughout my different cards. And because I stamped them in gold, they coordinate with everything in this kit. We'll just adhere all of this to the inside of the card, and I'm telling you, I really enjoy using die cut items to decorate the inside of my card. I think it doesn't add bulk really, and it looks fantastic, and you won't mess it up. Next, I'm going to use the Tile Mosaic 3D embossing folder, and I have some opal blaze polish here in turquoise, peach, sunset orange, and avocado. And I was playing around with it and put it all over this piece of black cardstock and then embossed it with that embossing folder. I die cut that down to fit my card front. And now I'm going to make this a beautiful, magical night type background. We've got a unicorn here to add to this rainbow. And then we also have the stamped gold unicorn facing in the opposite direction. Of course, there's some extra dimension behind each of these. I've really had a lot of fun with all of the magical elements on these cards. And honestly, I've given several of these away to coworkers who will be giving them to their children. Magic and these are always popular themes. I don't know ever that unicorns, fairies, and magic and mermaids haven't been popular. They're always popular. It doesn't matter the decade. It isn't something that comes and goes. They're a constant. we've got ourselves a sentiment, actually 2 sentiments from the ephemera pack, and we're using the purple faceted gems. Next, I pulled out the peach opalescent sequins from Spellbinders. These things are gorgeous. They really do have a bit of a chameleon effect. They have lots, because they're like a holographic iridescence, they have more than one color, and they kind of take on the properties of whatever they're near a little bit. So yes, they're peach. Yes, they're gold. Yes, they're yellow. Yes, they're pink. They have a little bit of all of that going on in here. So they go perfectly with this set also. Now I am stamping that longer sentiment from the stamp set again in VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, and then I sprinkled on some of the Brutus Monroe Fairy Dust embossing powder, which is clear with some glitter in it, and that just adds a little bit of shiny raisedness and some glitter, which is perfect with this whole theme. Again, another unicorn on the inside, and that looks like it's another done card. I love the amount of shimmer in this one. Next, we're going to take out the Fluted Classics rectangles, and we're going to die cut, I think, the second from largest, and we're going to again use the Precision Layering A2 dies. There is a set A and a set B for those, and I do have both of them, and I use them both pretty constantly. We've got one of the floral pattern papers here, and we're going to adhere that directly to our card base. And then I had die cut the Fluted Classics rectangle out of some vellum. And I have another grouping here, a nice floral with a unicorn head. It actually was a little hard for me at first to figure out what that pink piece was, but it is indeed a unicorn head. I've added my extra dimension behind both the ephemera and then behind the vellum behind the ephemera to add a little extra detail and separation to our elements and the busy background. We've got a Celebrate Today sentiment from the ephemera kit, and I'm just figuring out where exactly I want to place that. Sometimes I just don't want to cover too much of the things, but I really want to keep the sentiment included in our image cluster. Inside, we're going to add a couple more ephemera pieces. We've got a purple full unicorn that coordinates nicely in style and color with the unicorn that we used on the front. And then we have this purple sentiment from the ephemera pack that coordinates perfectly. And that looks pretty awesome too. So that is another card down. Oh, wait, nope. We're going to add some gems. I've been using a lot of the gold ones. I think when all is said and done, I only had 3 or 4 of the gold gems left. Gold does go with everything, so it makes sense that that went pretty fast. Our next card is card number 8. Holy cow, can you believe we're on card number 8? I spritzed this teal piece of cardstock with the Snow Flurries and the Calypso Teal shimmer sprays, and I die cut that with an oval Fluted Classics die. And I have this piece of pattern paper that is coral with purple stripes over the top of it, and we'll adhere that directly to our card base. I have my grouping of die cuts and ephemera. We'll adhere that behind with some coaster blank behind it, and all of these beautiful ephemera pieces. This is almost like a little mini aquarium. I love how they all just lay nicely on this oval. It was really a lot of fun to build card designs with the ephemera in this pack. It had definite separation in styles and themes with the groupings, and that makes it easier in my mind to build things when things are when you aren't so overwhelmed with choices. There were plenty of choices in this ephemera pack, but it was not an overwhelming amount. These are adorable. I love the quantity of coral and seagrass and seashells and seahorses. Lots of fun things to play with. We're going to adhere our sentiment on the bottom. I think this is probably one of my favorite cards in this group. I really love how this one turned out. We'll take some more of those gems. I think I'm going to use the aqua or teal ones this time. Just going to add a scattering of those. They almost look like bubbles. Usually I think these faceted rhinestones have been too big, but I think I just had to change my thinking. I think they look great. Next, I took for card number 9, the Fluted Classic Slimline die, and I cut the smallest one in that set to create a banner of white across the middle of this card. I took this mixed media looking pattern paper that has the sea theme to it, and we will adhere that directly to our card base again. I did use the Precision Layering A2 die set to die cut that again. There are some very versatile layering die sets available through Spellbinders, and I use them all the time. So if you have some of those, make use of them. That is why we get them, so that we can use them over and over and over again to add extra details and interest to our cards. It's so easy. You just keep pulling out these same layering dies and they add so much to your cards. We have a grouping of 3 mermaids here in green, pink, and purple. Well, I happen to have some green, pink, and purple coordinating elements to add to this. We've got this pretty flower, and we've got this green sentiment that says magic, and we've got this purple flower, and I tried to alternate them. Same colors as the mermaids, but different colors on each mermaid. And we have this cute little sentiment that we're going to add above our diving mermaid. It looks like she just dove right into the water and is heading right back up. That's what it looks like to me anyway. Then we're going to take some of these purplish, periwinkleish. There's 2 different fun colors here. I think actually I used different colors on each of these, didn't I? Yep. I used both of the purples on this. And then for card number 10, we're going to use that beautiful marbled pattern paper. This is a really busy card, and maybe I should have put a layer of vellum behind this to help break it up a little bit, but I really wanted that pattern paper to show, be able to be seen as much as possible. We have another grouping of coral and seagrass and seaweed, along with that cute little oval frame showing the mermaid and a starfish. We're actually going to add our sentiment to the middle of this white space. We're going to add the letters to form hello on here. And yes, they can be a little fiddly, and I maybe should have put a little extra glue behind them, but I didn't. And so far, they've been sticking really well. Actually, I've already given this to a coworker to give to her daughter, who absolutely adores mermaids. This says, hello, beautiful. And we have our shimmery, spattered mermaids here that I die cut in the unboxing video. And I had spritzed them later with some of the shimmer sprays. That's the words I'm looking for. I'm just going to carefully layer these lovely ladies in. And I think the shimmer really helps them stand out against this marbled background. We just have a couple more pieces to add here. We've got our seagrass or our seaweed, however you want to call it. I almost shimmered that too, and I maybe should have. What do you think? Should I have shimmered that too? Or does it look good without the shimmer? We're adding a few more gems here. Look at all the gems I have left. I could make a whole nother 10 cards with those. Here we've got a chipboard seashell and starfish we're going to tuck in there. Trying to make sure I use all of the different kinds of elements on this card. And then inside, we're going to add some more of the ephemera. We've got this cute little mermaid that is the same as the mermaid on the front of the card, only much larger. She's going to sit on a seashell, and she's going to have a starfish right next to her also. And then we're going to find a sentiment to add. We're going to add that same leave a little sparkle wherever you go. That seems to be one of my favorite sentiments that I've used. Either that or I stamped a whole bunch of them. You can see my cup full of extra pieces there. Here are some groupings of the cards that I created today. If you want to see all of them in close-up, check my blog. I'll have a link to that in the description box below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please take a moment to do that now. If you are interested in the kit, check that description box below for that too. There will be links to all of the products that I used today. And here are a couple more videos I thought you might enjoy. Until next time, bye-bye.